Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first of our webinar series on Invest in Your Career and Reach the Top, where we will feature one CFA charter holder at a time. Today's webinar is about equity research, and we will learn about the challenges, tips, and we will be inspired in following this career path. So thank you for being with us today. I am Rochelle Sampang Manaog, Program Director of CFA Society Philippines, and I am your host for today's online event. And before we start, we'd like to give you some housekeeping and reminders. This webinar will be recorded. Screenshots, video, and audio clips will be used to report of the event on internal channels of CFA Society Philippines and possibly online website and social media platforms. If you do not consent the use of video or audio clips in which posts that you might be visible, please email us at events@cfaphilippines.org. No other recordings of any form are allowed once you enter the webinar. Please note that CFA Society Philippines holds proprietary rights on all presentation materials of this webinar. Kindly mute your audio when not speaking to prevent any background noise. And please write your comments or questions to the speaker in the Q&A box. Introduce yourself first by telling us your full name and your organization or school for that matter. Please be advised that Zoom webinars capacity is for 100 only. So this is on a first come, first served basis. All of the participants who will not be accommodated in Zoom can join us via Facebook Live at the CFA Society Philippines Facebook page. Those who are able to answer questions about the webinar and complete the evaluation form will receive electronic copy or e-certificate, electronic copy of your certificate. For our viewers in Facebook Live, kindly look for the link in the comment section. For our participants via Zoom, the link to the questions and evaluation form will be sent to you via email after this webinar. Now, let us have the prayer. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we offer everything to you during this webinar. May we ask for your blessing that the learning session set for this undertaking be successful and effective. May we also retain the invaluable knowledge and learning that we derive from this learning session. We pray that you bless all the people involved so that they may fulfill their task responsibly, that the objectives we have set may all be achieved. Your generous blessing would mean the success of this webinar. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Now please remain silent for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Again, welcome to the webinar series on Invest in Your Career to Reach the Top. Now, we will focus on equity research. We would like this opportunity to recognize our annual corporate sponsors, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, our silver sponsor, FTI Consulting, Inc., and our bronze sponsor, Infinite O. As mentioned, we will have an overview of the career path in equity research as research analyst. And to formally welcome us all, may we please have the President and Chairman of CFA Society Philippines, Dr. Robert Ramos, CFA Charter Holder, Kaya Charter Holder, and CIPM Certificate.
So good evening to all of you. I have always believed that even during the most trying times, every individual can find ways to improve. Obviously, obtaining the CFA charter is one path to such improvement. While reading about or listening to the success stories of different individuals is another. In this first of 8 career talks, I do hope that you pick up a lot of pointers on how you can traverse the road to self-improvement while scaling the corporate ladder. Thank you again to Charles for sharing your story. And thank you all for attending this webinar. This is your first chance to level up. Rochelle, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rob Ramos, for the warm welcome. Now, joining us today to moderate the session is Isa Regalado, Co-Director for Internals of UP-JFA and the Unsigned and Socials Finance Manager of UP Maroon FM. She is also the former Director of Mentorship Members Development of UP-JFA. Let us please welcome Isa Regalado.
So good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Isa Regalado. And before we proceed, let me introduce to you our very first speaker for this webinar. Mr. Charles William Ang is a Deputy Head of Research of Call Financial, the largest online stockbroker in the Philippines. He covers the Philippine banking sector, which also is helping lead a team of analysts in covering companies listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange. Currently, he also serves as a board director and mentor at the Kailum Trading Institute, a premier educational facility in the Philippines that aims to develop successful traders of global market. As an advocate of financial literacy, he regularly conducts stock market and financial analysis seminars for Call Financial, Kailum, and the CFA Society. Charles graduated cum laude from the Ateneo de Manila University with a Bachelor of Science in Management Engineering degree in 2009. He became a CFA chart holder in 2013. Let us all welcome again Mr. Charles William Ang.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Isa, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello, sir. Hi. Good evening. So, for my first question, so before we start this webinar, let me ask you this question: why did you pursue finance?
Okay. So I think for me personally, you could say that I was lucky because I was introduced to finance quite early. So I'm talking about maybe sometime in the junior year of college, right? Wherein I was actually introduced to the CFA curriculum, right? So I was it was because of a competition that's patterned after it, but as a result, I was able I was introduced to the curriculum, and I was able to see the different concepts, the different possibilities that it offers, right? And so with that introduction, I noticed early also that I enjoyed it, and that I could follow, most of the concepts once you get past the initial unfamiliarity of the subject, right? So with that, then I decided to try my luck in this industry, right? So I think that the key for me was really that introduction early, the opportunity early, and then maybe I guess that's one possible takeaway for all our attendees today, right? So if you really think you're interested, if you're not sure, then try to give it a go, right? I mean, try to read up on the curriculum. You don't really have to learn everything at once, right? Just try to browse through it, see what are the kind of jobs available in the industry, what types of and I think this is also what the series these series of webinars is aiming to achieve, right? At least so you get that familiarity, and maybe more than that, if you could even try to read up on some of the concepts, the framework of this industry, then if it interests you, then it might be a good idea to pursue it.
Thank you, sir. Siguro, can I just ask, can you talk about more of the career path or the different jobs you worked in?
All right.
You
Okay. So actually I started as a trader, no. It's an algorithmic trader. Primarily for derivative products, listed in the United States. So it might be a bit too technical, but the I guess the bottom line is buying and selling these financial assets, right? So that was my starting point. And then after 1 year, I already transferred to COL Financial as an analyst, and for the last 10 years already, I've been an analyst. So equity analyst for the Philippine markets, right? So primarily, I study companies, I study the earnings forecasts of these companies, and basically try to make my recommendation whether to buy, hold, or sell these issues, right? So it's a quite a straightforward career. I should say, right? So just two jobs for me so far. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. For our next question is, what do you consider as the highest achievement in your career? So maybe you can relate it to your network or knowledge from the CFA Institute or membership or candidacy that helped you.
All right. Okay. So for me, if because if you really think about it, as I said a while ago, just a few minutes ago, when I started 10 years ago with CL Financial, I was an analyst. Right now, I'm still an analyst. Right. So if from the conventional, I guess, perspective, right, the analyst position might not be as the ladder, the career ladder that you're climbing is not as profound as the other industries. It's not as important also, right? Because at the end of the day, after 10 years, I'm still essentially doing the same thing, right? I'm still trying to analyze companies and basically try to make recommendations, right? It's the same thing, right? But I guess for me, maybe just to answer the essence of the question, I think what I'm maybe most happy about with my career so far is that I think I'm close to, I'm almost like achieving that financial independence. For me is very, very rewarding, right? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is basically uh, learning and understanding how your money or how your capital can work for you, right? And it's not really the career achievement per se, but it's more of a function of that, especially being an analyst, being paid basically to study and to monitor the financial markets. For me, one big reward from that is that you'll be able to understand the financial markets. And the reality is we live in a capitalistic society, right? Whether we like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society. And so understanding how these work, right, and the financial markets is the driving force of that, right? So if you understand how it works, then I really think that you're a step closer to reaching that financial independence. So for me, that's what I consider I guess my greatest achievement, to be.
I'm pretty sure, sir, a lot of people will want to ask you this. Maybe let me ask you, how are you able to achieve the role that you are in right now, or the career path that you're in right now? Siguro, what sort of career management techniques did you use?
Um, uh, well, life is hard, no? So it's very hard to put everything in a formula and just give it to you and just follow these steps, and you will surely succeed. It's very hard to do that. But let me just to give my 2 cents on it. I guess for me, I really believe that for anybody in any field to be successful, there's a little bit of luck involved. Meaning you have to have that opportunity, right? So my answer is basically you just have to. It's kind of paradoxical, no, in the sense that I'm saying that it's something that sometimes it's based on luck, it's based on that opportunity, but in a way you could also try to put yourself in that position to be given that opportunity, no? So some examples would be, for example, surrounding yourself with the right people, right? I mean, for me, that's one maybe tangible way of, like creating your own opportunity, right? Because although it's not exactly guarantee, but right, but if you surround yourself with the right people, the people that has the same, interests or skills as you, or even with better skills than you, much better, right? So if you continuously put yourself in that position, and if you're just try to be prepared all the time, right, as much as you can, and so when that opportunity comes, then you'll be able to capitalize on it, right? Yeah, so just I don't know if I don't know if it's specific to the research analyst position, but yeah, you just have to put yourself in that position, I guess. And sorry, if I may just that. So just to tie it up with that, for example, with the CFA curriculum, for example, I think that's another tangible way of giving yourself that opportunity, putting yourself in that position. Because, for example, if you think about it, if you learn uh, the curriculum for me, the curriculum, the CFA curriculum for me is basically a starting point. No? It gives you like an overview of all the major financial markets, financial systems, financial assets in the world. And so if you learn that, then, di ba, you're already a step ahead of the game of everybody else. You're already in position. No, you're just gonna wait for the next opportunity, but at least you've done your share. You've done your part to capitalize on it.
Knowing that there are a lot of opportunities or things in front of you as like a CFA, how did you make your career decisions? Knowing that you really have a lot of things going and happening in your position. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess it helps. Again, it helps for me that I was, lucky enough to be able to get to know the industry, or from a top down perspective, from big picture perspective, right? So at least I kind of know the possibilities available in the industry, right? Because it's one thing if you're entering something, but you don't really know where it could lead you, right? It's another. For example, di ba, my first job, 1 year I was a trader, but after a year or so, and at that time I think I was preparing for the level 2 exam for the CFA, right? So because of that, maybe the studying for the exam, preparing for the exam, I saw the other sides of the financial industry, and so I was able to say personally that maybe I want to try something else, or something more than what I'm doing right now. No, so I guess having that big picture view on things, at least you get to uh, incrementally improve your chances of finding the right area for you, the appropriate area for you. Because at the end of the day, it's dependent on each personal situations, right? I mean, to each his own, right? Some people might want to be an analyst, some people might not want to be an analyst. That's okay. So the key thing is you kind of know the job, what it entails, what it needs, and if you think it fits you, then yeah, then go for it.
Knowing that this is a field of finance, do you have like any sort of skills that people or like students like us need to develop in order to be successful or in order to succeed in life?
With regard to the analyst position, um, okay, let me start off with what is not required. No, because I guess the maybe the biggest misconception for an analyst is that you have to be good with numbers, right? And and I think this is really like way overrated, right? What do I mean? I mean the numbers that you need, or the math that you need to be able to do this job properly would be your simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, ratios, percentages. I guess that's it. And I think anybody with a high school degree would be able to do this, right? I mean, of course, a certain level of requirement is expected, but it's not a very high requirement, right? So it's not that, no. So I think for me, the biggest, I guess, relative to other fields, the biggest distinction that I've realized over the years for the analyst position, no, is that for you to be a good analyst, you have to be comfortable with uncertainty. What do I mean by that? No, so for example, in other industries, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but because I've been in the finance industry my whole career basically, but what I see is that in the other fields, basically it's you could say it's most of them, not all, is mechanical. There are rules, there are steps, and basically just follow those steps, learn those techniques, and then you're good to go, right? I mean, in a way it's deterministic, but in the financial markets, they call it like wicked environment, meaning you can do the process correctly, but sometimes it doesn't work in your way, right? Yeah, so that's what I mean. So and if you really think about it, I don't want to get too technical, but the financial markets are always forward looking, right? I mean, they don't care what happened in the past already. That's no longer relevant, right? It's all about what will happen tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now. So it's really uncertain. Everything is uncertain. Nothing is certain in the financial markets, right? So you have to be comfortable with that. I've met some people, very smart people, but they're not comfortable with that. They want you to tell them what they need to do to get at the right answer, and sometimes it doesn't work that way in the financial market. So that level of comfort with uncertainty, I guess is different. Maybe outside of that, the usual hard work, I guess it still applies. You have to be humble, you have to be open minded, you have to try to learn every day, because markets are very dynamic. So you have to really be open minded, and to try to learn every single day. Yeah.
That's really true, no, sir. We really have to learn how to adjust on different circumstances or different experiences that we encounter, and that also does not apply to. Sorry, excuse me. That only does not apply to a certain career, but also to different paths that you take in life.
Yeah.
So maybe, sir, knowing that you are really experienced or you've been into this career for a lot of years now, what have you learned or you wish you'd known earlier in your career?
Okay. I guess the best answer I could give that is that I wish I started even sooner. No, so when it comes, not really as an analyst, of course I can't be an analyst while studying, right? But when it comes to investing in the markets, learning the financial markets, I wish I could have started even sooner, right? So like just to share something like an anecdote, no. So I used to I was able to join an exchange student program when I was in my junior year in Singapore, right? And there I noticed that maybe, I don't know, maybe 50% of the students were already investing in the markets, like students, right? And me personally, I think relatively I still started early. I started when I graduated, right? But I guess I wish I could have started sooner, right? I mean, yeah, so yeah, so even whether or not you decide to be an analyst, learning the financial markets, you don't have to trade it, okay? You just have to learn and then invest, and then let the markets, let your capital work for you, I guess, is the bottom line. Yeah. So I wish I could have known that sooner, right? But yeah, such is life.
Thank you, sir. So, can you share with us the work that you are currently doing, or the work that you are in right now, and how did the CFA program curriculum help you in your career?
Oh yeah. So as I mentioned, I essentially study companies. I study their prospects, and I try to decide, with the best that I can, whether or not these companies are the best investment ideas, right? So basically, that's my job. So looking at the business of a company, analyzing its prospects, looking at the industry, etc., etc. So how does the CFA curriculum help me? I guess that as I was able to already in like mention a while ago, the CFA curriculum gives you a good top down, like bird's eye view on all of the major financial assets in the world, no? And the good thing is, you might say that, okay, for example, when we talk about derivatives, for example, you might say that in the Philippines, it's not that big of a market, right? I mean, we don't have that much derivative products. It's not a developed industry, right? But the thing is, markets now are very, very global, right? Yeah, one event in the US, for example, or one thing that happens in Europe or in China affects everybody else, right? So at least being able to have that starting point for you to understand what are these products, or what are these events, what are the effects of these events, or these events to your investments here in the Philippines or even outside, right? Is really an edge, right? And yeah, so I think it gives you that starting point. Of course, yeah, it's just a starting point, and maybe you can do without it, but it definitely helps if you at least have an like bird's eye view on all of the other things.
You mentioned, sir, a while ago about the global context. So, why do you think the CFA exam is still relevant in the current country and global context? Can you give us any exam preparation advice?
How is it, yeah, as outside of the fact that, again, everything is interconnected, I guess you could also say that, if I could add, right now with technology, you the, everything is accessible in your home, right? As you can probably observe by now, right? Everything you can access on your own. So what do I mean by that? So if, for example, knowing at least, like, for example, understanding the curriculum, knowing the other products available elsewhere in the world, um, allows you, for example, to trade other products, to trade other markets, to not really trade, but to invest in them, right? So you don't have to limit yourselves with what you have here in the Philippines. Everything is connected. You could invest in any markets in the world, right? Just by using your computer, right? So everything is connected, and yeah, so I guess that's it. It's even more relevant now, and maybe, I guess, one other benefit of the curriculum is that, it's a standard curriculum that's the same all over the world, right? And maybe because as an extension, right? We've talked about a while ago that the financial markets in the Philippines is not yet as developed as the other countries, right? So maybe if you want to seek like career opportunities somewhere outside the Philippines, they might say that your typical financial education might not be enough to give you that edge. But if you study, you go through the curriculum, at least it's at par. It gives you the same, level playing field with the other global, applicants as well, right? It puts you in the same playing field, right? So it kind of levels it off. So I guess that's another benefit. You've asked about tips. I guess the only tip that I could give is that you just have to make sure you put in the work. I've said this many times because I also teach in the review class. No? So for me, the exam is really a test of discipline more than a test of you know s- mental abilities. It's really a test of discipline. What do I mean by that? Meaning, I really believe if you put in the work, if you put in the time, right, enough time, enough effort into it, the probability of passing would really be high, right? Of course, it's still not going to be 100%, but it's really highly correlated with your effort. No? So, yeah. So put in the time. Don't cram, right? I know everybody likes to cram, so don't cram as much as you can, right? And start early because there's really lots of materials, right? If you happen to browse the curriculum, there's lots of materials. So start early, study regularly. Don't cram at the end because it's almost impossible. And yeah, I think you'll have a good shot of passing the exams.
I also agree, sir, that if you really put your everything on the thing that you want to do, diba, at the end of the day, you will reap yung success or reap yung
Yeah,
fruit that you want. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, sir. For our next question, what was the most confounding ethical situation you've encountered in your career, and how did CFA program help you navigate that?
When it comes to the ethical aspect of it, you could say maybe I'm lucky because again I was introduced to the curriculum early on. So before having any sort, even before I was in the industry, I already knew the ethical guidelines brought about by the curriculum, right? So I don't really recall all of the other, the technical rules that they gave out, but at the end of the day, it's client's interest over your own interest, your own personal interest, even the company's interest, right? So it's clients over your company, over your own interest. And I think if you follow that guideline, and there's nothing really difficult when it comes to the ethical stuff. So maybe, yeah, to answer your question, I've been lucky to not have that dilemma, right? So far, right? I mean, just always prioritize your client's interest, and then you're good to go.
Next question, sir, is what are the top three factors to succeed in the investment management industry?
Okay, so maybe building on what we talked about a while ago, I guess number one is really humility. So as I said, it's the the learning here is continuous, and nothing can really be certain. Nothing is really deterministic. So meaning you really have to be humble enough to admit that you can be wrong at any given time. Now, for example, when I recommend a stock or issue a sell on a stock, I'm never 100% sure. So I've definitely been wrong many, many, many times. Now, so yeah, you have to have that certain level of humility to be able to, or else the markets will humble you on their own, right? So that's one. And I guess maybe you just, as with anything else, any other field, any other aspect of life, you just have to put in the work, right? And I don't want to, it's not a thing wherein you say that, okay, maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, I've put in the work, now I'm done. I can just reap the rewards. It's not like that. You have to, it's a continuous thing. So you have to put in the work regularly, or else the markets will leave you behind. Right. So it's so continuous work, and maybe last, and I guess also applicable to other fields, you just have to put in the time also. You have to give it a time. Right. You, like, some things in life, you just can't rush too much, right? In our world today, we always want the instant things, right? But yeah, I mean, you have to put in the time. You have to wait. You have to wait for that time for you to be able to eventually reach a certain level, right? Yeah.
That is noted, sir. Humility is very, very important talaga. And of course, determination and everything that you've mentioned as well, sir. Thank you so much. For our last question, do you have any suggestions for our future research analysts?
Mm, um, when it comes to the actual career path, being an analyst, I won't say it's for everybody, but if you think that it fits your personality, as I said, you have to be comfortable with uncertainty. You have to be disciplined. You have to put in the work. Um, if you think it's right for you, then go ahead. But I guess my advice will be, if you eventually become an analyst, my advice, I don't know if everybody can do it, but my advice would be to apply it to yourself personally, meaning invest, maybe apply those recommendations to yourselves personally, right? And you might say that, oh, what about ethical issues? You're buying and then you're recommending a buy, etc., etc. There's a way to do it, right? I mean, you could issue a buy, and after a week you could buy it on your own personal, and make sure you disclose it, so and so forth. You disclose it to your clients, to the regulatory, to your company, whatever, right? So there's the right way to do it. But I guess my point here is that, as I said a while ago, I wish I would have started sooner, right? I mean, investing in the markets, because at the end, it's really very powerful. And the sad part is, only 1% of the Filipinos are investing in the markets today, right? A lot of people don't invest, right? So maybe even if you're not, if you ultimately decide to not be an analyst, if eventually you don't become an analyst, try to still invest, right? Just invest a little bit of your money and try. Let's hopefully we can all develop the financial markets together, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering our questions. I personally learned a lot of things, and I was also checking out the details about CFA. And just this first episode, I really learned a lot, and sobrang daming knowledge ng webinar na to. So we are now opening the floor to everyone who is watching. If you have questions, feel free to send it through the Zoom chat, or to our viewers watching sa FB Live natin, don't forget to send your questions as well. So we'll be waiting for your questions, guys. Just go send them. And Sir Charles will really, really answer our question.
Yeah, hopefully I could answer to the best of my, give some value add to you guys.
Actually, sir, ang dami nang na-add na like very value-adding na knowledge sa amin. Like sa questions natin before. Thank you so much, sir. We'll just wait for some questions.
Yeah.
Don't be shy to send your questions, guys. It's your chance to finally ask Sir Charles about CFA, about finance, and everything that you want to ask. So just send them out, guys.
I think we have a question on the Q&A box on Zoom, here on Zoom.
Okay, for a while. There you go. Okay, this question is from Rael Munkal. Do you have any recommended investing books other than Intelligent Investor and Security Analysis?
Okay, yeah. I'm yeah, I'm ashamed to admit this, but I'm not really a book person. So I tend to forget the things that I read. I don't read whole books. I just read, parts of it, and I rely on my colleagues to uh to recommend, certain parts of the books for me to read. I'm more of a article guy rather than a book guy. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, so maybe I'm not in the best position to answer that. Maybe the other speakers can, but for me, I guess it again reaffirms my point. You have to make sure you surround yourself with the right people, right? Because yeah, it also allows you to cover up some of your weaknesses, your personal weaknesses. For me, that's I don't really read a lot of books, but instead I read a lot of articles. I talk to my colleagues and share ideas. That's the main way I learn, basically, rather than books. So I don't know. I mean, those two books are both good books, right? But yeah. So maybe we can move to the next question. Sorry about that.
Actually, you're right, sir. Actually, we sometimes learn from other people then kasi they experience different things din naman po. For our next question, also from Ryle, what are your thoughts on people saying fundamental analysis is dead or useless, at least in the Philippine market?
Well, I don't agree. I don't agree. Um, what I can say is that fundamentals alone, fundamental analysis alone, is not the entire thing. It's not the end all be all, no. And if you look at the curriculum, and one thing I'm very happy about is that over the years, I mentioned a while ago, I've been teaching the review class for several years already, and I've noticed that the curriculum is already evolving also, right? For example, like the technical analysis part of the curriculum has been growing over the last several years. The behavioral finance part of the curriculum is also um, uh, also evolving in the same way as the industry is also evolving. I mean, uh, yeah. So maybe to answer that question, I don't agree it's dead entirely. But if that's the only thing that you look at, you won't be able to explain every little thing, right? So it's much more than that. And the good thing is, the curriculum, I could say that it's evolving also gradually, continuously, and and even if there's something outside the curriculum, that's okay. Again, it's a starting point, and the learning is always continuous, right? But so as to say that whether or not it's useless already, I don't agree. The way it manifests is just a little bit different already, right? But it's not useless.
Next question is from Jeremiah Gogola. If you were hiring an equity analyst in your team, what would you look for a candidate if they have no work experience in the industry?
If they have no work experience, okay. Um, um, what do I look for? Okay, that's a very hard. That's really a very hard question, no? Because again, it's not as if I have the formula to be a successful analyst. I just try my best, and yeah. But maybe the best answer I could give is, as I said, as humility is really very important. Sometimes you could already see it when with an applicant. They think they know everything. It won't work for you if yeah it won't work for you. So humility is very important. um and I guess one thing I'm looking for is really, uh I guess, passion. Meaning they know that they want it, which is only in a way possible if you already know beforehand what you're getting yourself into, right? So as I mentioned a while ago, I mean, you could, in this day and age, right? I mean, you could learn so much about the job even before entering. Of course, you won't learn everything about it, right? But you'll already get a feel, and if you really want to do something, to get into something, you'll do your best to prepare yourself even before the first interview or the first, the first day, right? So And yeah, this webinar is a very good example. The fact that you're here means that you're willing to put in the effort to learn, not just bahala na, let's just go to a job and see if I like it, right? Of course, you can't be 100% certain, but again, I'm trying to look for that level of the passion, that passion that for the financial markets. Because if you don't have that, and I've mentioned a while ago, in this industry, as with all the other industries, I'm sure, you need that level of time, the effort that you have to put in. So if you don't really love what you're doing, it's very hard to put in that effort, right? It's just very hard. So yeah, if it's not something that you really enjoy.
Our next question is from Paula Robinol from UST JFineX. We are currently writing our own equity papers, and I was wondering what can be a possible reason that an IPO falls below its opening price and is having a hard time bringing back its opening price.
Uh, very. It's a technical question. Okay, IPO for an IPO to fail to go below the IPO price. Well, if you start fundamentally, it means that the price is the IPO price is above the fair value, right? So that's one factor that could affect it. But again, as I mentioned, I don't want to get into too technical, but so that's the fundamental side of it. But again, there's also the behavioral side of it, right? So for example, if the issue is very big, right, for a big size, a big offering, and if it falls below the IPO price, behaviorally it means that everybody is losing money, right? And when you're losing money, and just think of it like behaviorally. So if you're losing money, when you're losing money and let's say you're losing 5-10%, and suddenly you're breaking even, the most likely reaction for majority of the people would be to sell it, right? I mean, you bought and then you lost money. Now you're back to break even. The most common reaction would be just behaviorally. Okay, I'm not saying anything about the company. Just behaviorally is for you to sell it at zero loss. Basically, parang nakalusot ka. So that's one of the reasons why behaviorally you see stocks that dip below their IPO price, especially if it happens soon enough, for it to have a hard time climbing back. So that's one example of again, behavioral finance, that is also part of the industry. In all honesty, right? It may not be the traditional fundamental analysis, but doing fundamental analysis doesn't limit you to that alone. It's not an either or thing, right? You don't have to say I'm a fundamental analyst, therefore I would ignore all the other things. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So I guess that's the short answer I could give without going into too much detail.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Dayan Anorico. This is also my question, actually. What is the process of taking the exam to become a CFA charter holder?
Process of taking the exam. So you have to register online, and they're gonna give you a curriculum, either soft or hard copy of the curriculum, and then you just have to read everything. I mean, you have to learn everything. You can attend review classes or to help you, but basically, and then and then you'll take an exam, take a test. If you pass the 3 levels, you have to take all 3 levels for you to be you have to pass all 3 levels for you to be a charter holder, a potential charter holder. And what else? You don't have to take it consecutive years. You can take it as many tries as you can. You just so long as you pass each level. And I think lastly, you need 4 years of work experience to get the charter. Yeah.
Thank you again, sir. Next is, what is the best investment tip that you can give us?
Best investment tip. Okay. I guess for me, number one, I think I already kind of mentioned a while ago. Start early. Start early, meaning learn it now as soon as you can, because knowledge is compounding. It's like when you compare, for example, let's say you're playing the piano, right? The piano, right? Somebody who's playing the piano for 10 years will be most likely, like 99%, much better than somebody who's learning it for 1 year, right? right? It's the same thing, and it's the same thing for the financial markets. The earlier you do it, and I think it's a must for everybody. So kung maniwala kayo sa akin, sooner or later you still have to learn it, right? So why not start early, and yeah, and yeah, so start early, and then don't try to go for the jackpot mentality. I guess that's one advice also that I could give, because a lot of people, when they think about the financial markets, they think about Wolf of Wall Street levels, right? Yung instant millionaire, instant success. That's, I guess, one of the misconception of the industry. I've met a lot of people who want to enter and basically say it without saying it, that Charles, how can I be a millionaire basically in the next month, basically overnight? And it's comparable. It's like me approaching, let's say, going back to the piano analogy, somebody, let's say I haven't played the piano my entire life, and it's like me approaching somebody and tell him that, okay, teach me how to play the piano in a week. I want to be able to play them all the hard pieces in a week. You'll probably laugh at me, right, if I say that. So it's the same thing for the markets. Yeah, don't think of it that way. It's also a grind. It's also a grind, as with most of the other industries. There's really no instant success, at least sustainable success. You can have, short-term successes, right? Instant short-term success, but I don't think it's gonna be sustainable. So don't go for that. No, parang it's not. If you want to do that, just go to the casino or go to the just play the lottery, right? Those are your venues if you really want to get rich fast. But otherwise, it's gonna be a grind. Yeah.
Okay, sir. This question is from Mazel Ventura from Cavite State University. Since we are a student, let's say we already have savings right now. What is the best investment that we can do, or we can use to start off?
Best investment. I guess as a starting point, okay, and this is only starting point, not only sorry, but a very good starting point would be to just invest in companies that you know, right? So most of the time, these will be the blue chips, right? Yung blue chips that we call them, right? I mean, the really the big established companies, right? So as a starting point, at least it gets your feet wet. Yeah, you get to benefit from the growth of these companies. I guess the good thing right now is that most of these companies, even the biggest companies, are down because of the pandemic, right? Which is both bad and obviously good when it comes to like giving you opportunities going forward, right? So yeah, so start with that and try to again slowly accumulate knowledge, right? Slowly accumulate knowledge and understand how it works. Yeah, and yeah, and putting your skin in the game, having skin in the game is definitely one way for you to drive you to really learn this, because you're basically you're invested, right?
Next question is, if you were to hire, would you rather hire someone with a stellar GPA but little to no experience in financial markets, or someone with average grades but has outperformed the markets in 5 or 6 years of analyzing equities?
Which would I hire between the two? It depends. It's not really about grades per se. It's also not about performance per se, because as I said, um, it depends more on the process. For example, it in for us, okay. I mean, for my department in particular, we're a research department, right? So meaning what I'm trying to say is that we're looking at your process fundamentally, right? That's really the focus, at least for our department, right? I mentioned a while ago, the industry, if you're investing on your own, which is very good, which I recommend, it's not 100%, it's not solely about fundamental analysis, but at least what we try to bring into the table when we write our reports for our department is really primarily fundamental analysis, right? There's a separate department that does the technical analysis for COL, right? So yeah, so for us, I'm looking not really about the returns but the process, right? So how did you achieve those returns? Basically, why did you choose this over that? And can you justify it? Can you explain your thought process? Maybe that's what I'm looking for more than the actual results or the actual grades.
Our next question is, how hard is it to transition from being an accountant, CPA, in an audit firm to being an equity analyst?
There are pros and cons. Um, Pros would be you're working with the same financial statements. At least as a starting point, you're dealing with the same. So you'll understand all of these terms, all these formulas, all of these rules, right? What have you. So that's the positive side. On the negative side is, no offense to the accountants, right? I mean, yeah, but I think that's one major, I guess, difference between the two fields is that accounting is more deterministic, as I said a while ago, right? So it's deterministic, meaning if you make a sale, there's only one way to record it in your financial statements, right? You credit whatever, debit whatever, right? There's one way, right? I don't want to get into details kasi baka ma-booking ako. So yeah, so there's only one way. But again, so there's really no uncertainty, or again, correct me if I'm wrong for those accountants, but there's minimal uncertainty when it comes to accounting. But in finance, everything is all about the uncertainty. You have to basically forecast. For example, we're trying to forecast revenues next year, right? And a lot of people might say, how do you know? There's a pandemic going on. How do you know? Is it going to be a growth, a decline, whatever? But that's the challenge, right? We In the face of uncertainty, we give our best estimate, best educated guess. And if it's better than the average, you get rewarded by it, by the market. That's how it works, right? So there's a fundamental difference when it comes to the value add of an accountant versus a financial analyst. One is really dealing with rules and procedures and formulas. The other one is really dealing with uncertainty. So maybe that's one challenging part of the transition. But I'm not saying that no accountant can transition ever. Okay, there's been a lot over the years that I've experienced. That successfully transferred into the financial market side, right? So it's definitely possible, but you just have to know the difference.
Thank you, sir. And for our last question, is it good to invest in a mutual fund as a beginner in investment?
Yes, definitely. That's one of the easiest starting point, right? Because at least in an investment fund, you have your professional fund manager is gonna manage your capital for you, right? But as I yeah as it, I guess the to add to that, no, the complete answer would be, if you could also even do it on your own, then that's much better, right? Because at the end of the day, when in a fund, you have to pay the fund managers, right? I mean, you have to pay the operators, what do you call it, of the fund, right? They have to make money, or else they won't do it, right? So so if you think you have the skill and you want to put in you're willing to put in that effort to learn it, then by all means, it's potentially very rewarding if you learn to do it on your own. But of course, I'm not gonna say that that every single one can do it. Some of you might not be able to do it. It's not for you. You're not willing to put in the effort. You'd rather focus on your area of expertise. For example, you want to focus on being an architect, or being a whatever, being a businessman, and then you don't want to really put in the time. That's okay also. And then just let the professional fund manager do it for you, right? That also works. But of course, there's a certain level of cost, but yeah, that's okay. That's economics, right? You sometimes you really have to pay for expertise.
Thank you so much, Sir Charles, for answering our questions, and thank you also to our audience for staying with us throughout
Yeah.
our webinar. So, Miss Rachel.
You're
Yes,
welcome. You're
this
welcome. hopefully I was able to impart a little bit of knowledge on my
It's not
hopefully,
little
hopefully.
bit. That was a lot.
Hopefully.
Good,
Okay. Yeah, you're
yeah,
welcome. Yeah. Thank you also for
good job.
inviting me.
Good job, Charles and Isa. Thank you, Charles, for gracing our event and sharing your experience and your insights. Thank you, Isa, for moderating this session. And to those who were able to join us via Zoom and via Facebook Live, thank you very much for giving us time today to learn more on the career path as a research analyst. And for those who would like to request for the e-certificate, we will be posting in the Facebook comment section the link where you can answer a few questions about the webinar. So we'd like to check if you really watched the webinar and if you were really with us. And that link will also have the short evaluation form. So that will take you about 5 to 8 minutes, or maybe 3 to 5 minutes to complete everything. And for those who attended via Zoom, we will be sending an email to you with that link for the questions and also for the evaluation form. So CFA Society Philippines, again, would like to thank our sponsors, our platinum sponsor, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, our silver sponsor, FTI Consulting Inc., and our bronze sponsor, Infinite O. And in behalf of CFA Society Philippines, the staff who's behind this online event, our volunteers as well who work with us, thank you very much. And again, our sincerest appreciation for your time and effort in participating in today's webinar. Keep safe and God bless.